How much it costs to market every game? Average, how much would you say it costs?
Depending on the scale, I don't know offhand. I know that Halo 3's marketing budget is probably more than $14, I'd say. You know. I'd say a relatively conservative advertising budget would be $10 million if you want to have enough adequate penetration on TV and ads. I know, I think I read somewhere that Lost Planet spent like $20 million on their advertising, which, don't quote me on that, it may be wrong, but depending, these things can get really, really expensive really quickly. But again, I mean, you saw the projected box office take that Halo has the potential to, so it's viewed as an investment.
What was the total time delay? So what was the original ship date?
We were originally it was you know, a while ago. The most recent delay, let's see, I think it was supposed to come out September 30th, 2006, or early September. I remember standing here and demoing the game last year and saying that. So it's not the case anymore, obviously, but it's been about a year, pretty much.
And then, were there challenges in finding tasks for everyone to do, given that much of a time slot? Like, okay, we need to do art. What do the programmers do for a year and change?
Surprisingly, not really, because just the nature of the rehaul wasn't just change the graphics out, or just upgrade the engine, or just come up with or just change level design. It was everything. So the whole entire game got a whole overhaul. We threw out tons of assets and upgraded ridiculous amount of code, and even high-res objects and assets that we'd already created. So there was plenty of work for everybody to do.
Did anything that would have got on the cutting room floor originally make it back into the game with the extra time?
That's a good question. I think not really, but a couple features that we were experimenting with for multiplayer that seemed a little extraneous that were left out of the original one, we had the extra time to come in and tune them. So those got retuned and rebalanced, and now they're an incredibly essential part of the game, which also enriches the whole multiplayer experience. So, yeah.
Better product.
Exactly. You win. All of you win.
It looked like you switched publishers. Was that because one was going out of business, or they just got rid of your studio and you tried to look for another publisher and you found Vivendi as opposed to the previous one? How did that all happen?
I signed on the project pretty much the week after that the game switched to Vivendi, so I don't really know what it was like working with Atari. But what happened was that Atari was going through their financial problems, and Time Shift was one of the properties that they had to sell to not get delisted, I guess. So that was the first ones that came off, and Vivendi was the highest bidder. But it also worked out that they had a pretty good idea in mind of what they wanted to do for it. Like any other publisher would probably have picked it up, dusted it off, and said, okay, and shipped it. But Vivendi / Sierra really took the time to look at it and say, okay, we see something here. What would happen if we gave it the extra time to do this? And because it's Vivendi and they have all that World of Warcraft money, they were able to do that and create what you see here.
Bringing it back to the marketing in general, I mean, obviously, if there was an original ship date, the marketing vehicle was already kind of in motion. I'm just curious as to how much in marketing dollars were lost, and then how much in credibility, you know, because you're building up a message, you're putting out there the fact that this game's coming out at this particular date, that you have all these things in motion, then you have to pull all that back and then restart that later. So I'm just curious, in terms of marketing dollars and also in credibility, was lost in that.
That would be more of a question for the publisher as far as how much, budgeting and everything like that. But one of the benefits of the old version of the game is that it wasn't marketed very well, like you saw before. It was just kind of, well, here's a game with time, let's do something with it. And they weren't exactly sure how the best way to communicate that. So what you had was disjointed marketing messages and relatively positive PR coverage, but still it was a little confusing and the message wasn't clear. So the fact that we took our half messages like that and we just kind of went underground for like 8 months or so, retooling the thing, let everyone think that it was canceled or delayed or whatever it was, and then come back much stronger with a much more focused and refined message like this. with just a basically renewed effort coming out, saying this is a different game now. And then actually the previous marketing effort becomes an asset, because you could say, hey, look, this is what it was before. We realized we were doing things wrong, and we fixed it, and how we have something new for you. So we managed to turn that liability into a success.
And a question about game marketing in general. How do you see games being marketed in the future? Like, do you see the internet taking more of a prominent role, or do you still see strict like TV and magazines and still having a role playing, like, say, in the future?
It'll only expand. I mean, TV ads will never really go away. Even if something like DVR becomes incredibly mainstream and people are fast forwarding all the time, they'll find a way to have, they'll just display a logo for 40 seconds or something, so you're staring at it. But these things won't go away. There'll always be some kind of print magazine, even as those publications evolve over the years. And you have all these ridiculous new avenues with internet and with viral campaigns and things like that. That'll only increase too. Especially when you look at, I think, what Massive is doing with in-game advertising. So you'll probably see much more of an interplay between the games themselves, how you experience them, how you experience advertising in them, and maybe even relationships down the line with other game studios partnering with each other. So the things that we'll see in the future are things you probably can't even comprehend now, just because they haven't been thought of yet.